Hello folks, I'm John Myrie and welcome to the Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. On this week's show we have reports and tips for you from Jarrett McCarthy down at Hayward Bait and Bottle, and then we talk with our local Wisconsin DNR fisheries biologist Max Wolter. Lots to cover on this week's show, all coming up right after these messages.
Even though there's still some summer left and all of fall, Hayward Power Sports is offering incredible end-of-season deals on in-stock Lund bows. All remaining Lunds have huge discounts, and you could save over $26,000 depending on the model you choose. Hayward Power Sports has an awesome selection of new Lund bows, rigged and ready. You'll find the 1650 Angler, the 1775 Impact, the 1875 Crossover, and many more. Don't wait. Come and see us today at Hayward Power Sports, just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77.
Riding along in my automobile.
Bumping into things unexpectedly? Make your first choice for collision repair. Ernie's Auto Body, featuring the most advanced collision repair facility in Northwest Wisconsin. With a state-of-the-art spray, bake-down, draft paint booth for that better-than-new finish, laser technology for precision frame alignment, loaner cars available, computerized estimates, written guarantees, and documented unmatched customer service, the clear choice is Ernie's Auto Body, south of Hayward on Highway 63 and Nursery Road, where quality is no accident.
Big fish stories come to life at the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. The world's largest shrine to freshwater anglers boasts a 4.5-story tall walk-through muskie that's a half a city block long. It's like taking a peek into Granddad's old tackle box with thousands of mounted fish, antique outboard motors, and historical sport fishing artifacts. Stop in and take a chance on our 50-50 cash raffle. You could walk away with a pile of cash. See the big ones that didn't get away at the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame, Highways 27 and B in Hayward. Open daily, including Sundays, through October 31st at 9:30 a.m. Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering welcomes you to stop by for their great lunch menu. And while you're there, Lynn's also has a great selection of custom-cut meats and sausages, as well as many varieties of snack sticks, jerky, fresh cheese curds, and much more. Lynn's is open Mondays through Fridays from 9 to 5:30 and 9 to 4 on Saturdays. Lynn's Custom Meats and Catering in Hayward.
Today, anglers fish longer. Today, anglers fish harder. Today, anglers rely more than ever on their electronics. It all comes down to catching more fish, and today, anglers rely on Amped Outdoors lithium batteries, period. Visit ampedoutdoors.com today to power your outdoor experience.
We're recording this week down at Hayward Bait and Bottle, talking Jarrett McCarthy down here. And Jarrett, we're getting closer to fall all the time.
Absolutely. We got some warm weather right now. We got some heat advisories, but looking into the extended forecast, I see her dropping off into the 60s, low 70s. So she's on her way as usual.
Well, how about the fishing? What are you hearing? Let's start with walleyes. I mean, a lot of people still want to fish walleyes, even though they're tougher this time of year.
Yeah, a lot of people still want to fish those fish. A lot of guys are still out there trolling. They're running planer boards, they're running crankbaits. We got some guys that are still up plugging away with slip bobbers on the weed edges. Your golden periods, your morning and your evening hours are still the great times to be out there. Even doing something as throwing a jig and a minnow or what have you. Those have been producing lately, but it's just working to catch them right now, working to find them and working to catch them. We've seen them all over out there lately, but it's just getting them to bite is the tough part.
How about panfish out there? What are you seeing there?
Oh, we're still seeing a mixed bag on panfish. We're hearing a lot of good things with crappies that are just starting to heat up out there. Guys that are out fishing the flowage in a lot of area lakes around here. Bluegills seem like they've been going strong all summer, but as we roll into fall here, the bite will only heat up with those guys.
How about muskie fishing? What are you hearing out there on muskies?
Hearing some really good things on muskies. Nothing huge. We're hearing a lot of mid-40s inch fish. A lot of guys run topwaters. A lot of guys run some bucktails, but fishing's been steady now that we had some changes in the water temp, and obviously with this last week we had some temps in the higher 80s. Air temps or what have you. Not all the best for handling fish out of the water or what have you, but now that we're going to start cooling off, it'll be a lot easier on the fish.
You bet. I think we're getting into that fall muskie time, and I see at some point in the end of August, early September, I see a lot of major movement for shallow water for any predator fish, and that includes walleyes, muskies, pike, everything.
Yeah, absolutely. As the water temps cool and it frees up kind of zones that have been otherwise unoccupied by fish during the summer, other than little bluegills and bass, a lot of those fish will start moving a little bit shallower, and then as we get later into the season, those shallower waters will stay warmer longer, as we really start to cool down, then fish will start moving up all the way up until early ice and be hunting and foraging for food up there.
And lastly, I know a lot of people do some bass fishing in the summertime. Let's start with the smallmouth. What are you hearing on those?
Smallmouth's been good, talking to a couple of anglers. Some guys are finding them in 3 or 4 feet of water. Other guys like myself, I was out on Saturday. I was finding fish from, 13, 14 feet of water all the way out to about 28 feet of water. So it's kind of scattered out there. There's good bites all over the place.
Yeah, it kind of depends, too, on what kind of lake you're on. And largemouth, they're always pretty good in the summer months.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of fish still up shallow in the weeds and the lily pads or what have you. A lot of guys out there throwing spinner baits and frogs. And there'll always still be a little bit deeper bite. Guys out fishing drop shots and some Texas rigs.
And also let's talk a little bit about the fact that we're going into September and we're only a couple of weeks away from the opening of the archery season and small game season. And you're getting a lot of people interested in that now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of people coming in to see John have their archery equipment and their crossbows fine-tuned and getting ready for the season, and a couple of guys that are already starting to scratch their head and think about firearm season as well. This last week or so, we finally had doe tags become available for the area, so guys are out there getting ready.
Well, it's that time of year where you got so much to do and very little time to do it.
Yeah, it seems like that's all year, but yeah, of course.
And down the shop here for people looking for fall fishing, you guys got just about everything. Anything new or interesting for fall? I know you got a big selection of rubber baits, soft rubber baits, and that seems to be a real big ticket to fall.
Maybe not so much with new gear. We've just kind of increased our selection here from years past. We keep an ear open for all of our customers, and when people start asking for baits, we take a little mental note and make sure that if we don't get it in that year, we'll get it in the next year. So we've got quite the selection down here for whatever you're looking for. If you're fishing walleyes, bass, muskie, we're here for you.
Yeah, and also I want to add in here, if you're new to the area and you want some tips and information and maybe help getting going up here in the area, lakes, any information, you got guys down here, all of them fish.
Absolutely. We all fish down here. We're all on the water a couple times a week. For the most part, we know what we're talking about. And, if you're looking to get out fishing, we got some awesome guides in the area, too, that we can recommend.
Well, thank you, Jarrett, for taking the time here with our listeners.
Thanks for having me, John.
Well, folks, we need to take a break right now and hear from some of the fine sponsors that make this show possible every week. When we come back, we'll be talking to our local DNR fisheries biologist, Max Wolter. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hunters and anglers, Hayward Bait and Bottle is your one-stop sport and bottle shop in the Hayward area. Stop in and check out the huge selection of muskie, bass, walleye, and panfish tackle. They also carry archery supplies, bows, crossbows, muzzle loaders, ammo, scents, tree stands, and much more. Gear up for hunting and fishing at Hayward Bait and Bottle. And while you're there, check out the bottle shop for a full selection of beer, wine, and liquor, too. Hayward Bait and Bottle is your one-stop sport and bottle shop.
The Hayward Lakes Visitors and Convention Bureau in Sawyer County, Wisconsin welcomes you to our Northwoods hometown. No matter the season, no matter the activity, you'll always be surrounded by our great outdoors. What more could you ask for in a vacation destination? Woods, waters, world-class events. Contact us for information on lodging, dining, attractions, events, trail conditions, and more. Order your free vacation guide and start planning your getaway today. Visit us at haywardlakes.com or call 1-800-724-2992.
The 2025 Polaris off-road vehicles are on their way, and at Hayward Power Sports, we need to create room by making crazy deals on the remaining 2024s. Now's the perfect time to take advantage during the Polaris Deal Days sales event. Claim rebates up to $3,000 or financing as low as 0.99% for 36 months on select models. Polaris RZR is built for everything from taming adventurous terrain to adrenaline-charged trail rides with your crew. Polaris Ranger is a perfect machine for tackling property maintenance and then take on a backcountry trail ride. Or get the best of both worlds with Polaris General, built with task-to-trail versatility, unlocking more adventures. With up to $3,000 off select Polaris side-by-sides, it's time to finally get the machine of your dreams. Plus, Hayward Power Sports even has rebates up to $1,500 off the machine that started it all. The legendary, tough Polaris Sportsman ATV. Let us help you get the right Polaris to join you on your next adventure. Hayward Power Sports, just 10 minutes east of Hayward on Highway 77.
See dealer for complete program details. Always wear a helmet, never drink and ride.
Welcome back to another segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. And this part of the show is brought to you by the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau. For more information on lodging and vacationing here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out their website at haywardlakes.com. Well, folks, one of the people I get a chance to get on here from time to time is our local DNR fisheries biologist, Max Wolter. Had a chance to sit down with Max in his office the other day, talk about what they've been up to this summer and what's coming up for the fall projects. Max, you've been busy all summer, too. Let's tell us what you've been up to as far as the fishery.
Sure, we have been busy this summer. We start the summer with our bass electrofishing. That's usually like late May, early June. Looking at smallmouth, looking at largemouth on lakes throughout the area. We do a lot of youth events in the summer. We did a couple great ones this year. We did a moms and kids fishing night at Shoes Pond. We did our regular Muskie Fest fishing at Shoes Pond. Those are both a lot of fun. And then we do a lot of trout stuff in the summer. That's every year. A lot of stuff on the Namakagon River, but also a lot of the smaller streams in the area that people might not be as familiar with. A lot of great brook trout out there. It's kind of exciting. So if people are looking for those opportunities, we're happy to point people in that direction. And then we did some kind of preliminary work on a big research project we're ramping up for on spider chain.
You bet. Well, that spider chain thing is going to be interesting because the pike, and we've already seen what the pike can do with tiger cat flowage. We went from a lot of muskies to very few muskies out there. And is it looking that way on the spider chain yet, or?
Yeah, so spider chain is really setting up nicely as a good research lake to look at that pike and muskie issue. And we have our great new researcher, Colin Dassow. He's out of Spooner, but he's going to be working on muskie research all throughout Northwest Wisconsin. He's involved in the project. He helped kind of develop everything we're going to be doing out there. And spider's a good one to do it because it's been a research lake for a long time. So we've done things in the past out there. This is going to be a continuation of that, and this is going to bring out some really cool, high-tech equipment to understand exactly what's going on with pike and muskies, how and where and when they're interacting with each other. And then, of course, the big thing is, what can we do about it? Once we have all that information, how does that lead to solutions so we can keep muskies in these native muskie lakes and manage these introduced pikes so that they're not having as much of an impact on the rest of the fishery?
It's going to be real interesting, too, because we, like I mentioned, tiger cat flowage, but then we take other instances like teal and lost land, and we've talked about that before. They're stained water, and they're in moose now, and they don't seem to be going anywhere real fast in moose, but they're at a disadvantage, the pike are, in that stained water. But how is it that we deal with the Chippewa flowage now? That's got a pike population, and they seem to be able to coexist in there.
Yeah, so that you hit on one of the big things, which is, one of the things we believe we know about this interaction between the two species is habitat is a really big deal. What's the water clarity? Is there flow or not? How much, aquatic plants is in the lake? Things like that. And so what this spider study is going to do is it's going to enhance our understanding of how these two species interact. Again, the when, the where, and then we're going to be able to take what we learn on spider and start to translate that to other lakes, we hope. The things we learn there are not going to be just strategies we can use on spider. It'll be things we can use on the Chippewa flowage or Moose Lake or teal and lost land or the tiger cat, which needs some help. So this is going to be really cool. And what the study is we're going to tag about 40 total fish, 25 muskies, 15 pike, roughly, give or take. And these are very special tags. When you've heard about tagging studies from me in the past, we're talking about pit tags where you have to actually recapture the fish, scan it, and really all you learn is the fish's identification number. You don't really know a lot about where it's been unless it winds up somewhere new. Other studies have what we call radio tags, including our elk have had radio tags in the past where you have to go out looking for them, right? You got to go out there on a boat with an antenna and you go around the lake and then you find the tag. So you only know where they are on the days you go out and do that. The tags we're planning on using for this spider study are going to tell us the exact location of those fish every hour of every day for 3 years. We're going to be able to create maps of exactly what these things are doing, what bays they're going into at different times of the year. In some cases, we'll be able to know how deep they are and what temperatures they're seeking out. And then, of course, we'll look at, at this time of year, all the muskies and all the pike are trying to use the same type of habitat, or they're all trying to spawn in the same type of bay. And we're hoping that that's going to lead to some solutions where we can get in there and intervene on behalf of the muskies and protect spawning habitat, enhance spawning habitat, to try to keep pike out of spawning habitat. Just a few examples. Stock smarter, whatever it is, we're hoping we're going to learn a lot by taking our tracking of these fish to the next level. This has never been done for pike and muskies before, from what we can tell, to this degree with this type of very, very new, very high-tech tag.
Well, I know that one of the big problems that we've always assumed is that they spawn in the same type of areas, so they compete when they're fry.
Right. Yep, that's a big assumption. So pike typically spawn a week to a few weeks earlier than muskies, so they get that little bit of a head start. And one of the things my crew did this summer is we went out on Spider to the areas where we believe pike are spawning based on what we see in the spring to see if we can capture the little pike, the ones that were born back in April or May, to figure out, like, okay, can you start removing these things from the system before they even get to be adults? And we're also looking to see, are there little muskies out there trying to use this same habitat? What we found is it's needle in a haystack in many cases. It's really hard to find these little pike. We spent a lot of time out there. We weren't able to capture a whole bunch of them. Now, the tracking study might help us pinpoint where we need to be targeting with these little nets and these things we're trying to catch the little pike with. But one of the things we learned is it doesn't seem like the system's overwhelmed with little pike. So that gives me some hope too, that, we're not too late by any means when it comes to spider. Muskies still have a very good chance there, and if we can do this study, learn more, figure out what strategies we need to use, we can keep that a very good muskie lake for a long time.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because when you talk about muskies up here, they've evolved with no pike. That was the natural. But when you go, say, over in Minnesota, Mississippi strain, they evolved with pike. And from what I understand, they actually spawn in different locations. They spawn deeper over there. Is that true?
It's somewhat true. When you talk to your colleagues and my colleagues in Minnesota, when they're capturing muskies for spawning, they're using roughly the same stuff we are. They're using pike nets. So those muskies are coming up and spawning in relatively shallow areas. But, you hit on something really important there, which is in big systems that have had both species, whether that's the St. Lawrence River or Leech Lake or Lake of the Woods or whatever, in big water bodies, they kind of have the habitat sorted out, right? The pike are going to kind of do more spawning here. The muskies are going to do more spawning here. There's enough habitat to go around, and you have viable populations of both. In our area, we have much smaller water bodies than some of those ones I just mentioned, and so they're all on top of each other. There's really nowhere to split them up and say this part's for pike, this part's for muskies. They're all going to be using the same handful of bays, whether that's Muskie Bay on LCO or East Bay on Spider Chain. They're both going to be there, so that interaction's going to happen. There's no what we'd call habitat partitioning in a really small lake.
And people think, well, the Chippewa Flowage is a big lake, but by lake standards, 15,000 acres is a puddle compared to 100,000 acres or more.
That's it. Yep, that's the thing. And we love the Chippewa Flowage. It's great. It's big. It gives a lot of room for people around here to go and play and fish and stuff. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, especially when you're talking about a species like muskie that exists in the Great Lakes and, the St. Lawrence River and all these massive, million-plus acre water bodies. Yeah, we got some pretty small stuff around here. And it's like you said, it's small stuff that had muskies and didn't have pike. So they had the run of the roost for a long, long time. And then when humans started moving fish around, all of a sudden they have a new, very closely related cousin in the lake that they have to share this space with, and it's not always going great for the muskies.
Well, the Chip is a relatively small lake by big standards, but it's a very complex lake because if you compare the miles of shoreline in the Chippewa Flowage to Leech Lake with over 100,000 acres, there's more miles of shoreline on Leech Lake or on the Chippewa Flowage than Leech Lake.
Yeah, right. Yep, that's a good point. So it is an interesting water body. It's very complex. It also has the two big rivers coming in, which I think favors muskies in some ways. So, even within the Chippewa Flowage, you do have a lot of habitat diversity, and that's favorable for supporting both species too. So kind of the quality of habitat and then also the quantity, I think, are going to be really important to figure out what's going on here.
And about the trout thing, you said you were working on the trout. What's the state of our trout fisheries around here?
Yeah, great question. So, kind of the centerpiece of our trout fisheries in the area is the Namakagon River. It's got the best access. It's got the biggest trout. It's one of our best, it's a brown trout fishery predominantly. And what we've seen out there over the last 5 years has been really good. Nice year classes coming in very consistently. Including this year, we had the biggest year class we've recorded ever at the one site that we do annually. That's great. I think the trout probably benefited from a mild winter, and we also got lucky that we had a pretty mild summer. Water temperatures didn't get super, super high for a long period of time. So trout are enjoying that set of conditions. We got more trout over 20 inches than I've seen in quite a while. So it's a good time to get out there and fish the Namakagon River. It looks really, really good. We also spent some time on brook trout streams throughout the area. A lot of great stuff down by Exland. Really high densities of brook trout in places like Maple Creek, Beaver Creek, Buckhorn Creek. I know Swan Creek's still doing pretty well. I had a great report from the Forest Service crew that spent some time on Venison Creek. So, brook trout fishing and going out to these small streams maybe isn't as popular as it used to be. But for people that are into it, or for people that want to give it a chance, there's some really great opportunities out there to catch a lot of fish in a really cool setting.
That's something I maybe need to think about, because I grew up doing that, and now I got away from it because they're in a big boat all the time.
Yeah, people like their big boats, but some of these require a little bit of bushwhacking. That season's open later in the fall now, which I think is really great for trout anglers, because you can get out there at a time of year when the mosquitoes aren't as bad. The foliage is maybe starting to turn really pretty. Trout season's open till October 15th now on all the streams. So great time to get out there and explore some of these. Namakagons, again, fantastic. Some really, really big, beautiful brown trout out there.
Well, folks, we need to take yet another break and hear from even more of the fine sponsors that bring this show to you every week. When we come back, we'll have the second part of that talk we had with Max Wolter. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. Hey folks, come on over to Hayward Ace Hardware and check out the area's largest selection of firearms, ammo, and accessories. We carry top brands like Browning and Sig Sauer, and we have a great selection of the newest and hard-to-find models. We've got a large selection of ammo with more coming in daily. If you need a scope, we carry great brands like Leupold, Hawk, and EOTech, and we'll even mount it and bore-sight it for you too. We even sell suppressors and silencers. And don't forget to check out our Guns of the Week. Huge discounts on a variety of pistols, rifles, and shotguns that change every week. So stop on in to Hayward Ace Hardware, your firearms superstore. Hayward Ace Hardware, Highway 63 North in Hayward, or give us a call at 715-634-8700.
Hayward Animal Hospital is a full-service medical and surgical hospital featuring on-site laboratory, digital and dental x-ray, in-house pharmacy, and online store. Dr. Ostrander has 40 years of experience dealing with illnesses, injuries, surgery, and dentistry. Hayward Animal Hospital offers urgent care appointments and emergency surgery daily. Please call early in the day for these appointments. They open at 8 a.m. Hayward Animal Hospital is located 1 mile east of Hayward on Highway B. Call 715-634-8971.
Hey folks, the Log Cabin Store in Northwoods Beach on Highway K between the Big Lakes has groceries, ice, beer, liquor, and pop, and now has all new tackle and bait supplies. All current antiques and household items are now on sale, and all must go to make room for the sport shop. That's at the Log Cabin Store in Northwoods Beach between the Big Lakes.
If you'd like to have your time fishing be more enjoyable and productive, hiring a fishing guide can be a good investment. Whether it's learning more about fish patterns throughout the year, learning how to use your depth finder to find the best spots and fish, learn how to use that GPS to get the most out of it, or learn better boat control. A day on the water with a guide can really help you to be a better angler, as well as make a day on the lake very enjoyable. To book a guide trip this year or get more information, you can find us on the internet at www.wiscnorthlandoutdoors.com, and then just click on Area Guides.
Welcome back to the last segment of this week's Wisconsin Northland Outdoors. And folks, we're going to jump right back into the second part of that talk we had with DNR fisheries biologist Max Wolter. How about for fish stocking? I know I've heard some reports that there's a cutback on stocking this year on walleyes and on muskies. What's the deal?
Yeah, I'm not going to have the full statewide picture on all that. I've been working with our hatchery and spooner here, and we got muskies coming to a bunch of our lakes, and we'll be working with partners on stocking a few more. Same with walleye. We have walleye that are going to be stocked in some of our lakes. I don't have the full picture on that one yet, but I do know we have some partners coming and stocking some fish, like the Winter Lakes Alliance. There's a group out in Spider Chain that's going to be stocking some fish. I think Nelson Lake Association did some stocking. So there's fish going into our lakes, and we're trying to focus on kind of the highest priority stuff where the fish are going to be most successful. So yeah, I can give a kind of a more full rundown on all the stocking once the dust settles, but there's fish coming. Absolutely.
You know, we've seen more people out on the lakes than we've ever seen out here, Max. I mean, since the COVID, I mean, the lakes are really busy, and you've got people out there just water recreating. But, you know, we've got people out there fishing, and not only that, everything in the fishing world has improved out there. I mean, we have better mapping. We've got GPS. We've got sonar. Now we got forward-facing sonar, live sonar. I don't know where that's going to go as far as the impact on the fishery, because even if, well, like muskies are pretty much 100% catch and release right now, but there's a mortality level out there, and the more effective people get at catching muskies and more muskies get caught, we're going to have to stock more muskies, I think.
Possibly, yeah. It also lends a lot of importance to just the quality of habitat too, and maintaining high quality habitats that can produce these fish naturally, because stocking's not always the way. If we have healthy ecosystems, that's going to be much more resilient to any type of change, whether it's more effective anglers, invasive species, anything like that. So I always just want to stress the importance of maintaining healthy habitats. And when it comes to our lakes in the area, private lakeshore owners have a huge role to play in that, right? The DNR owns a lot of shoreline on a few lakes, like the Chippewa-Flowage, but on most lakes, it's private folks making decisions about what that shoreline habitat is going to look like. And that leads to, water quality implications too. So we can look at any of these changes, whether it's more recreational use, better fishing technology, the threat of invasive species, and all of those kind of come back to healthy habitats. Protect those healthy habitats. That's the best thing that we can do to make sure that we're going to have good fisheries now, 10 years from now, 100 years from now.
And I suppose as we increase pressure, we try to take care of everything. We've always got regulations to go back on. I mean, muskies, I don't know how much more we could regulate them. I think we need to stress to the anglers out there, maybe practice more water release in the water instead of, bringing them out of the water to measure them down to the last half an inch and all the stuff that we see for social media now. But when it comes to panfish are going to, I suspect myself, we're going to see a lot more 5-bag limits, whether it's a 10 with 5-1 species or 15 or just a 5. We're going to see more of that in the future as we get more and more people out there on the lakes.
That's certainly the direction it's been trending, for decades now. We went from a 50-bag limit in 1997 to all the way to the point now where a lot of lakes are 5 or 10, like you mentioned. People generally seem to be accepting of that, and I think one of the reasons is the electronics and people seeing, oh, okay, look at what our people are capable of now. The anglers who know how to use that stuff. Look at all the people fishing, whatever. And on some lakes that maybe can't sustain a high level of harvest with those things going on, people are saying, yeah, we want a lower bag limit. So when we've proposed those through the Conservation Congress and elsewhere, they've generally been accepted. So yeah, that's the trend. It's not being pushed by the DNR as something that we must have everywhere. Panfish populations are resilient. They're not going to go extinct. Yeah. But if we're talking about maintaining a quality in the panfish populations, nice size panfish, that's where the lower bag limits can be beneficial.
Well, I know you guys are going to be prepping to get out there in the fall. You got what you got lined up for the fall season this year? Yeah,
our theme for this fall's shocking is big lakes. I think we're going to be on basically every lake that's over 500 acres. When we're doing those, we're looking at stocking success from the previous year. So if we put out walleye in fall of 2023, we want to see how many have survived to fall of 2024. We're looking for natural reproduction. There's some lakes where we kind of expect to see a natural year class, and there's another category of lakes where we hope to see one. We're looking at muskies in the fall, and then we're also sometimes doing some other stuff with bass and even panfish and pike. It's our time of year where we go out and we'll collect fish for aging samples. So sometimes we'll have to sacrifice a small number of bluegills or crappies or something like that. We actually pull out their ear bones. We take them back to the lab, pull out their ear bones, and those ear bones will tell us how old those fish are. And that's really important for determining how fast they're growing, their likelihood of getting to a high quality size, and that can influence regulations and all sorts of other things. So that's all work we do in the fall and then kind of transitioning into winter.
Well, Max, a lot of interesting information there. I want to thank you greatly for coming on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, folks, we're about out of time for this week's show. I'd like to remind everyone out there that if you miss a show, go to our website at WNOradio.com. From there, you can link to our podcast site, and the show is also on Spotify and Google Podcasts every week. And also, if you're looking for information on vacationing and lodging here in the Hayward Lakes area, check out the Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau website at haywardlakes.com. Thanks for listening, folks. We're out of time, and we'll be back again next week with another interesting show for you.
Listen with me, I'm gonna take you there to our Wisconsin outdoors, our Wisconsin outdoors.
This program has been produced and hosted entirely by Wisconsin Northland Outdoor Communications. Any and all views expressed are not necessarily those of the station.